Good morning. What's your calling? Today it's all about calling. How are you this morning? There's a ton of cloud, so I thought I'll start a little earlier so you can see at least this little bit of light on the horizon. Oh. So there's this little bit of light on the horizon, and you can have a little evidence of sunlight. I'm not sure how much more we're going to get. It's possible not much more. Look at all the rain we had last night. Just evidence of it. And there's more coming. At 7, it's 50% chance, according to the prognosis. So let's see. Maybe we'll have some rain this morning. In that case, I'll be looking for a sheltery spot. So we have the reflection here on the water, which is interesting because there's no visible sun, and yet we have this fine reflection of light. And if we look out there in the water, you can see the fishermen. You see them there? They're in the very center of the screen. There's a boat there. The thing has got very opaque right now. The light is very diffused. But there they are moving along in the water. There's also another boat out here with a light in it. You can see there just to the right of the tree, there's a little light just over the reeds. I can't help you much more there right now. It's cloud everywhere. But it's a beautiful morning. We have a little reflection here as well. Let's just appreciate it. Right here on the window. Looking for the cows, I don't see them. It's still very nice, this light. Sizing up what to do. .36, so we're probably started about 5 minutes already. And the sunrise itself is technically about 10 minutes away, so we could have some very nice effects. Maybe once it comes over the horizon, if the cloud hasn't covered that space in 10 minutes, we could have some very, very beautiful effect. So I'm wondering if we stay around here. I really don't want to stop standing for 10 minutes. So let's do a little strolling. People out working already, look at that. Truckers, people going to work. And the birds are flying there. Why does it go like opaque like that? I wonder what the cause of that is. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for all the greetings. This is the first day of the week, you know, so people go back to work because Shabbat is their day of religiously inspired rest, with religion or without religion. It's a cultural reality, a political reality. It's the whole country closes down for Shabbat. Amazing. Imagine if we could get this reverence for the Lord's Day in the West renewed. And it gets renewed by every single one who tries. Everyone who brings you see it's very wet here now as well. Everybody who makes an effort to make Sunday special. Do you make Sunday special in your home, or is it just the same as every day? This boat has a very bright light out there. Look, you can see it from here. And I haven't figured out if they're fishermen. Sometimes they use light as well at nighttime to attract the fish. And I don't know why this image is so opaque. So there's very clear, very realistic. And then it gets very opaque out there. And my eye can see it very clearly. Thanks be to God. Come on. Well, there we are. I feel some drops. I don't want to be out in the rain either. Yeah, you can see that there are drops falling here. Raindrops keep falling on my head. I don't know if any of you remember that song. I think we're going to have a nice moment of sunlight here. It looks promising. It's very fresh here, very fresh air. And the rain has that cleansing effect. Probably dust and all that's taken out, so it's also fresh temperature-wise. I have to check to see what the temperature is for you. We're spoiled because we're used to so much heat here. For those who like that. Yeah, this is a nice spot here, I think. It's sort of one of our favorite spots, right? It's just so many great memories here. And there's a nice angle. We have lots of birds here in the water doing their fishing. Look at all these birds here. Not the ones that are flying, but there are 4 or 5 sticking their heads up here in the water. Let me see if I can get them for you. So that over there in that part of light, it's just there's a focal point in the camera right today. When it gets out to a certain distance, I can't get clarity in the image. So that sky is turning very nice now. It's good to take time for the beauty of creation, because it's created for us. It's a gift. Imagine when somebody gives us a gift and we just leave it aside and don't even open it. And they're there waiting for us to react to their gift. take time to appreciate the gifts of creation, the gifts of our hands. Imagine somebody who has the misery of losing their hand in an operation, in an accident. To look at your hands and be thankful. Your feet to be able to walk, our lungs to be able to breathe, our eyes to be able to see, even if we can't see as much as we used to see. Hey, that last one had quite a little bit of a fish in his mouth. Got breakfast. And then the biggest gift is another person. Another person is much more than a hand, much more than a foot that can go and do an errand for me, much more than just being there. They're a whole person gifted to my life. I'm not flying alone. Oh, that's more beautiful by the moment. Of course, another person can be a real bother, a pain in the neck. But then that's a huge gift for me as well. It's a huge opportunity for me to develop my heart. There's a mystery in every gift, a mystery of love. And in the human being, there's a double mystery. A person is not just a gift, but that person themselves entails an amazing gift of God's presence inside of them. That's destined for a future that is of glory forever. It's interesting, today in the readings we have this character Eli in the book of Samuel. He's an old man, a man of God, but a man of God in a time of corruption and probably also affected by worldly ways. And his sight is failing, and he has two sons who are very, very worldly. Maybe we have many families like that today in our Christian world, in our Christian communities. There's a great mediocrity, a sleepiness in the faith, a sleepiness in the consecration to God, and maybe also many are very corrupted, deeply compromised, morally, spiritually. You cannot love both God and mammon, and maybe the love has pendled over more on the mammon side. And yet God is going to work through Eli because he has that wisdom. You know, it's possible to have wisdom but not to live in a wise way. It's possible also to have grace gifts and the mystery of transmitting them to children, to the next generations. And so Samuel is this young boy that, you know, his parents, you remember Hannah, and she was crying out in the temple of Shiloh, and And Eli was very severe with her. He was very critical of her, and he said, "You're a drunken lady, just be quiet." He said, "I'm not drunken. I have very much pain in my heart. I don't have a child." And then in that exchange with the man of God at the temple, as old as he was and as tired as he was and as hopeless as the situation was, gave her a word of encouragement from God. And she had Samuel. And 3 years after his birth, she came back to the temple and dedicated Samuel to the Lord. So now Samuel is growing up, a young lad, right there in the temple. And it's nighttime. And they're all asleep. And Samuel was sleeping in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was. So he's very close to God's presence. Even though the people is very sleepy about God. But there's still a glow coming from that ark. The Lord called to Samuel, who answered, "Here I am." Samuel ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, you call me." "I did not call you," Eli said. "Go back to sleep." So Samuel went back to sleep, and the Lord called Samuel, who rose and went to Eli. "Here I am," he said. "You call me." But Eli said, "I did not call you, my son. Go back to sleep." At that time, Samuel was not familiar with the Lord. What an interesting comment. How many young people today are not familiar with the Lord? But the Lord is calling. The Lord is calling. And maybe we're not the greatest saints around, but we're the ones that will maybe say that comment one day that's going to be so appropriate, said with such love, with such respect, and there will be a new sunrise of faith in our world, you know. So it says Samuel was not familiar with the Lord because the Lord had not revealed anything to him as yet. The Lord called Samuel again for the third time. Getting up and going to Eli, he said, "Here I am, you called me." And now the beautiful moment. Eli understood that the Lord was calling the youth. What an important moment of awareness. Eli understood that the Lord was calling the youth. What an important moment. So he said to Samuel, "Go to sleep, and if you are called again, reply, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" And there we have sunrise. When we can give such words to others, what a sunrise. "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Isn't this beautiful? "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." Coming right for you, this ray of light. And the role we have without perceiving it for other people. We can point to God for them in very gentle ways, in ways filled with life and service and kindness and support and encouragement. When Samuel went to sleep in his place, the Lord came and revealed his presence. calling out as before, Samuel, Samuel. Samuel answered, Speak, for your servant is listening. Samuel grew up and the Lord was with him, not permitting any word of his to be without effect. The effectiveness of prayer. The Bible has an extraordinary appreciation for Samuel. Hey, people, take note of the sun. The cloud is trying to close it in. And so many clouds of materialism and relativism try to close out our faith and the light of our faith. But that's where we come in, to give witness, to be there, to keep that torch burning like Eli, to keep that awareness of the Lord, even though He's hidden, even though everybody's asleep, even though our culture turns its back so much, that there are other ways the Lord comes out and speaks to us. And we're very important in that role. There are so many stories in the history of the church like this as well, at the level of the monks and the monasteries. The time of St. Bernard in the Middle Ages, in the 1100s. And there were old monks in that monastery that continued faithfully as the light dimmed, and little by little the community was dying, but they were a very faithful community in a time of much corruption in European monasticism. And then one day, when everything seemed grey and dull and no more light, this young fellow, 22 years of age, Bernard, from a significant family in the area, showed up, and eventually 20-something of his cousins and siblings and friends joined the monastery. And before he died, there were 70 new monasteries of Cistercians. And that group actually, because of their communication to their monasteries all over Europe and their entrepreneurship and industriousness, and they actually were a tremendous cultural revival in Europe, and also an industrial fresh bud happening. And they communicated how they were harnessing rivers and using them for multiple purposes, for mills and different processes. And there's a great study of how this contributed to the development of Europe. God is always raising up young people. God is always raising up young people. And we have a role. Maybe it's not dramatic. And I would say the role starts with our prayer, with our faith, with our hope, and with our love. With our faith that God is listening and living and there, even though a lot of things are not the way we'd like to see them. And our hope, knowing that God's plan will succeed, no matter what difficult trials we have to traverse. No matter what difficult seas our boat has to travel in storms and dull weather. And filled with love, because we give ourselves, fired by that faith and bolstered by that hope. We can give ourselves daily in persevering love, no matter how disappointed and sad many people might be. Keep on rowing, keep on sowing seeds, keep on encouraging. Keep moving forward, never giving up. And there's an ebb and flow in culture and also in fervor. And we see Samuel coming and the impact he had. He would go on to anoint Saul king. He would go on to anoint David king. What an impact he had. And the wonderful words in Scripture. A man of God. And at times it was very difficult. Here I am, Lord, I come to do your will. Psalm 40. You know, these readings are very much the expression of all of us who made vows in the ceremony for the religious profession. When they called out our names, we answered the word, here I am. Lord, you are calling. Here I come to do your will, to profess the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Thousands and thousands of young people doing this every year in the church, you know. As rough as the situations are, there's still a lot stirring in the hearts of many people. Sacrifice or offering you wish not, but ears open to obedience you gave me. Holocausts or sin offerings you sought not. Then said I, behold, I come. Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will. There's a very powerful text in the second reading from Corinthians about our bodies. And today we were living in a culture where on the one hand, the body is incredibly glorified, and on the other, the body is trashed with drugs, with abuse, with a materialism. People, I see the rain is coming, look, so I'm going to move. Hey, why don't we just do this? There's also a great story in the gospel on the call of Jesus at the first disciples. God bless you, goodbye, see you later, alligators.